What is up, everyone? My name is Shaf, aka That Mill Guy. You're coming at the second channel here where we talk, I guess, anything not Magic the Gathering, although there will be some of that there. Today, we're talking the One Piece TCG, a video that I think a lot of you have seen coming. I've talked about this on the Nami discussion board on the Discord here. And I wanted to talk to a very special person here, someone that's done really well with Nami and kind of showing the world that you don't need to do anything fancy. You can work with a stock Nami list, all of your one ofs and your two ofs and your, no more buggies and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. You can win with that, and you can win with it, or win with or without, I should say. So I'm here to, I guess, we're going to talk about some results. We're going to talk about some Nami. We're going to talk about some Mill and anything else in between. But enough about myself today. This is a platform and a moment for my guest right here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello everybody, I'm Ramtin. I'm the Nami player who played in the Europe Championship One Piece TCG. It's a pleasure to talk about this wonderful deck.
Perfect. So why don't you get us started with, give us a brief introduction about yourself and maybe TCGs. Like, is One Piece your first TCG, or have you played others? Are you concurrently playing others right now? Or tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So, like you, I played a lot of Magic the Gathering. I was a big combo player.
Love it.
Who was playing Underworld Bridge, and then I was milling myself.
Oh, a connoisseur.
Some great. Yeah. I'm also a big poker player. It's not really a TCG, but it's actually a card game. And in OP04, I started to play One Piece TCG, and I fall in love. So
perfect. One thing I want to mention to the audience is, okay, so I know this from the Magic side, but a lot of really enfranchised and highly highly technical and really good Magic players are poker players as well. So I want to translate that to One Piece as well. I just want to say, understanding your odds, understanding when to go for something, certain cues and tells, these are things that, I'm speaking on your behalf, but I'm pretty sure you know this stuff. So these are valuable skills. Poker isn't just a game of odds. You have a lot of valuable skills that you can translate.
And a lot of card game are like, okay, I have to play around this card in the opponent hand, but maybe I can't anymore because I'm losing, so I have to play just about this card he should have to in hand, and it's really important, and it's a really good skill in poker.
I'm so happy, and again, I really wanted to highlight that you have that skill. Mentioning poker is not just, if you sit across from someone, they say, I play the One Piece game, but I play a lot of poker, be scared. This is a player. That will, they will know everything about you, just off of how you're playing. So I'm really happy you mentioned that, including the Magic stuff. So we might touch on that a little bit later. But today we're here to talk about some Nami. So let's get right into it. Tournament discussion. You know what? Let's start off broad. We won't even start off with the top 8 because there are some discussion points, especially with, I don't know if you've been following North American Nationals. There's been some controversy. Yeah, there's been some controversy. So I'm gonna tip onto that, but then kind of focus around Nami. So how was your tournament overall? European Nationals, beginning to end, maybe getting there. How was it for you?
Actually, it was pretty good for me. We went there with 5 of my friends.
Nice.
And there was only one who was playing One Piece. Other was just there in Amsterdam to enjoy. And it was pretty good. We went by car there. The organization was not perfect, but it was kind of okay.
Okay.
I think in America.
That's kind of what I want to touch on, but that's for later. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. The first day was more complicated, but the second day everything was fine. People was amazing, judge too. So not a lot of problem on this side.
Perfect. And I guess for those of that haven't been in nationals, so is it kind of one of those things where you come in, you register, you have a deck list, and then really you're just waiting on announcements. You're just, you know, round 2 pairings are up, go to your seats. So it's kind of that simple, or?
For the first round, it was complicated because there was a problem with the server of the application when we could find your standing.
Yeah.
But, we finished at 8 p.m. I think 9 p.m. I think. So everything was okay.
That is insane. I like, you know what, you've played Magic, you know that, like, even our you know, our Grand Prix, you know, it's similar in a way. Like 9 p.m. is insane. If you start at like 9 or 10, that is insane. But
yeah, that's true.
That's true. But yeah.
But I was quite okay with that. I mean, we were there to play, and we played a lot. We waited a lot too, but it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing before we kind of get into the Nami discussion, I do want to point out, you know, like, honestly, good for you for having that. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to play that many rounds for that long, to have the focus. And just like, I just want to point out that is a genuine skill that you have. And a lot of members of the audience, like, you know, you may have your own opinions about other Nami players and maybe even about Ramtin, but this is a skill that a lot of you don't have. It takes a lot of mental focus to be playing and thinking such a deck like this for that long. You know, you're not just playing Rob Lucci's and Big Moms for 9 rounds. You know, sometimes you play 3 Big Moms in a row and you win. Okay, the games can be pretty simple. So you know,
for Nami is the same. Sometimes you reveal 5 trigger and you're like, okay, this game is mine.
All 4 of your Saji's pilafs, all in your life. Beautiful.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But I really think it's really important to have this toughness. Like, I mean, this endurance. Like, you have to be able to think like for 12 round, 10 round, and if you can't do it, maybe you should try another deck. And I think it's really important, the choice of your deck, because sometimes you have to know that you will play for a long time and this deck will be better for you or something like this.
Well, so I'm really happy you brought that up. We've been talking about how difficult this deck is, kind of alluding to it a little bit and making a good deck choice. Why did you choose Nami instead of, I don't know, Zoro? Because somehow Red Zoro did really well that weekend. So why did you choose Nami out of maybe a faster deck, or what some people would consider an easier deck?
First things first, I think it's not the hardest deck to play. I really think that the hardest deck to play, it's Sakazuki, because you constantly have to choose something to discard, something to draw, and it's really important to always use your effect. And you have to know what you have to keep in your hand in this matchup, or what you have to discard in this matchup. So I don't think it's the hardest deck, but when you choose a deck, you have, when I choose this deck, I really needed a deck that could win against Sakazuki and yellow. And Nami is a deck that wins against Sakazuki and yellow. You can't choose a good option. And you can't choose a deck and say to yourself, "Oh, okay, I will play this deck." It's losing against Sakazuki. That's not possible.
Yeah, especially okay. So that metagame specifically, the top 8 was 4 Sakazukis, and I think I mean, like, even right now in North American Nationals, like, Sakazuki everywhere. So a lot of Rob Lucci's, a lot of just a lot of removal in general going around right now. So and I guess
super strong.
You're playing this because it has good odds against the top of the metagame, which I think is good to hear. A lot of folks have trouble, like they pick up the deck and they don't understand how to win, but it's good from your end that you're saying, okay, it has good game. But how do you feel about these matchups in general? Just off maybe like a quick basis, what do you think are Nami versus, let's go through maybe 4 of the top decks, Nami versus Sakazuki. Do you think it's favored? Do you think it's 50-50? Maybe it's like slightly unfavored, or what do you think?
No, it's favored for Nami. It become even if the player you are playing against know perfectly Sakazuki and perfectly Nami. At this point, it becomes even. But it's slightly favored for Nami if the player doesn't really know Nami.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
Okay, and then what about Katakuri?
Yellow is easy, actually. It's
Yellow
easy.
in
If
general,
you
so
lose
Katakuri
against
and
yellow,
NL. Yeah.
easy.
Do
If
you
you lose
find?
against yellow, it's
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
sorry.
No, go on.
If you lose against yellow, is because you have to practice more the matchup. But yellow is a really ace matchup.
You know what? Okay, I'll tell you what. For the folks listening, I'll probably timestamp this down below, but we'll go more in depth into the matchups later on. I wanted to kind of ask some quick questions off the top because there's a lot of non-believers out there. But before I move on to the next topic, I have to ask: purple Luffy, red, purple, or purple? What do you think? Favorite or unfavored?
It's disgusting for Nami because purple Luffy can do his can take the resource of his life without any problems.
Yes.
So it's a really bad matchup.
Yeah, I think, and you know what? I'm happy to hear that. There's a lot of folks out there, especially in the Discord and in my comments. Sometimes they'll ask like, "How do you beat this matchup?" We'll go in depth. It's a tough one. I'll tell you. Even like I've tried some nonsense like playing 10 cost Kaido. Look, the matchup is desperate. Okay, sometimes you just have to take a loss. Okay, it's okay. Sometimes you have to take a loss.
It's okay.
But I guess so. We're talking about matchups. How much Sakazuki did you play? What were your matchups in general? You played 9+ rounds of One Piece TCG.
Yeah.
90% of them Sakazuki. Was it a spread? How was it for you?
Let me just check.
Because I think you posted this on Twitter, I think. So yeah.
I always forget, but I think it was like 10 Suki on the 2 days I played against.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was
at that point, for those at that point, like if you're that far, you're just practicing against Sakazuki. Like after round 5, after the 5th Sakazuki player, that Sakazuki player, they don't even know. You know this matchup perfectly. You played like 4+ rounds at that point. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah. I could even play with them because I knew that turn 3 you have this.
Yeah, exactly. Like you had them read like a book. Yeah.
And the day before the start of the tournament, I did with one of my close friends. We did a BO 15 of Sakazuki Nami, and we practice a lot.
Yeah, and that's what you need. That's what you need. Tournament practice is important, but again, we're gonna touch on that later. How to practice with Nami, maybe a little bit, but. And how much did you play against the rest of the field? Maybe a little bit, you're against red, against yellow. How much did you play against the rest of the field?
So I played 2 Katakuri, 1 NL in top 16, 1 Zoro, and 2 purple Luffy, and the rest was Sakazuki. With
your plays, I have to ask the controversial question. This is, Okay, I have to ask the question. This had the Twitter memers ablaze. And you know what? Look, not a lot of players, they don't like Nami. Okay, we know this. Not a lot of players like all win cons. You know this from Magic the Gathering, maybe other TCGs. People like losing the way the game was designed for you to lose. They don't like other ways.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, there was a split in the community with the last game that you had. In terms of your Sakazuki opponent, did they slow play? Did they? Because I believe the footage made it so the game state made it so if it went back to your turn, you would have won. I think. I'm gonna let you speak for this. So, do you believe your opponent slow played? You can choose not to answer. It's fine. I'm not here to defame anyone. No. I'm here to address the question that everyone's asking, I guess.
Yeah. To be honest, it was my first time in overtime.
Okay.
For real, it was my first time. I didn't even know the rule that it was. So I knew it was first the life point we would see first the life point, but after that I thought it was the board, and then the number of cards in your deck.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess let's go through this. So before you even go any farther, if you do go into overtime as a One Piece player, what are you talking about in terms of life? Are you checking who has more life, and then the board state, or like your assumption who's better on board? What are you talking about here? What do they take into account when you go into overtime?
Actually, I don't know. I really think to come back to the Fabian things. I think Fabian is a great player, and he deserved the win because he knew how to play in overtime, and I didn't know. So I would prefer that that someone goes to the world that know how to play in overtime than me. So it was my bad. I played that really poorly. I should play more faster. The judge was near me, so Fabian played good. Maybe it's something like 20 seconds. If I had 20 seconds, or I had the turn, or I don't know. But yeah, I should practice in the overtime, and I didn't. And Fabian did. He perfectly knew how to play in overtime, and yeah, he went.
Fair enough. And you know what? I'm not here to bash Fabian and every, like, you know what? They got to top 8 as well. You know, like they played their rounds, and they played their Sakazuki rounds. They played their mirrors, and they got there. So you know what? Yeah, they are a good player, and they did get there, regardless of how you feel, or not you. I'm talking about to the audience, how you feel that they may have played, or slow played, or you know, whatever. There are ways.
I think there was a little bit of slow play, but perfectly fair. I mean, reasonable, because there was a judge. He would say something, and I was playing slow too. So no, I just had to play better, and I didn't. So I didn't deserve the win. So it's just like this. I see that like this.
How were your? I guess like going into that, right? Like, so you know how you played per game. How were your games in general? Yeah. Did you find that, you know, a lot of Nami players, they'll just say, "Oh, it's all up to luck. I need all my impel downs and my triggers, or I'm not winning." So I play Nami, you know, they'll tell me I play Nami and all my triggers are my Zephs. What do I do? I can't win. I can't win. So how was that for you? Was it just up to your triggers? Did you find that you had a lot of good decisions to make outside of your triggers? Like how did your rounds go?
How to say? I think I really think you need a bit luck, because if you have no trigger, you would lose. Yeah. But if you don't have any trigger, you are unlucky, because you have tons of trigger in your deck. So you need. It's obvious you will have some triggers. No, I think you have to you have to deal with the odds. Sometimes you will have more luck. Actually, I think I was lucky, because I had a lot of luck when I was against Purple Luffy, and I didn't need that luck when I was playing against Sakazuki, because I could manage to win without the luck. Okay. Yeah, I was a bit lucky.
And did you find that? I guess, like, you know what? We'll go into the MVP. We'll go into the MVP card side of this. So we'll leave that question there. The last question, I guess, that I want to ask in terms of the tournament side of things, before we get into the actual deck, your construction, and how you play that, the last question I want to ask, and we kind of alluded to it, is just what are your tournament, or I guess even honestly even locals preps, like folks that want to get better at their locals, maybe they're doing like a 5-round tournament, not even nationals. How would you recommend that they prep in or outside the game? I don't know, get better sleep, play more Sakazuki. What would you recommend?
The best recommendation: do whatever you want to do. Eat, don't sleep, don't eat, do whatever you want, but you have to know your matchup. You have to know which card is good in which matchup, and you have to practice the matchup. Because if you are like, okay, I have a Gavel in my hand, what I should discard, maybe I need Zeph, maybe I don't need Zeph, this is not possible. You really have to have to know your matchup. This is the most important.
And I think, like, okay, so just on a small idea. So on that Zeph, I think a lot of, so we're going to get into this with the cards. I think this is a good transition to this. This is a good transition to this. Go. Okay. Zeph. Okay. A lot of folks have a real big problem with Zeph, Kaya, and I think the characters in general. It can be really hard to understand when to save the character for countering, when to save it for another use. And obviously this is matchup dependent, right? But especially right now in a Sakazuki heavy meta, in a meta game where, like, you know what, the yellow deck is just ripping thunderbolts on you. They have the removal. They always have it. How do you feel about Zeph, Kaya, your characters? Do you play them out more? Is it 50-50, or do you use them for counters more often?
It's It's interesting what you are saying, but it's not about the matchup, it's more about the player.
Sure.
Because if the player, there is two type of gameplay when you are playing Nami. There is the clean gameplay. You are discarding the bad card, you are keeping the good card, and you countering
the ideal scenario. Yes.
Yeah, the ideal scenario. But sometimes players know really well Nami and do a lot of good attack, like 9k, 5k, 11k. And in this type of matchup, when you are playing against good player, you have to keep bad cards. Yep. Like you have to keep the Buggy to put 1000 counter more. And you are like, okay, I have to discard this Gavel because I don't have enough done to protect without using Buggy.
Yeah.
It's more about the player if you want to.
Oh, I'll tell you what. And on my side, so again, you have your experience from other TCGs and poker as well. Maybe you're more risk averse, you're more calculated. I admit that I am very much a greedy player. Like I will, sometimes I will see the line and I will go for that one line. Sometimes I find myself not adaptable, but I plan. I definitely will admit that I plan ahead, but sometimes I'm very bad at adapting that plan. So I will see in my head, okay, I have a Deathwing, I have a Gavel, I need to build to this Deathwing, and I have a Gavel to do it. How do I create this line to the Deathwing? And the Deathwing will take me there. But then maybe I don't need the Deathwing. I need to get rid of the Deathwing or do something else. Like I don't find myself very adaptable. Do you find yourself like that? Are you more calculated? Are you more adaptable? Or do you find that you can get away with being greedy in Nami? Just like countering out with your characters. It doesn't matter what you discard. Just as long as you survive, protect your life at all costs. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I will always calculate the odds, look what is mine in my graveyard, in my trash, I mean, see what I have in my hand and play. Yeah, I'm not a greedy player.
Fair enough. And
I will. Yeah.
I'm happy you brought that up. So counting what's in your trash, a big part of Nami is manipulating the information that you have. How much do you how valuable do you think that is? Do you think that players should be sorting their what's in their trash so that they know the numbers? How important do you think it is to, and also like a second question, how important do you think it is to manipulate the bottom of your library and know what's there? Like, well, how high do you place that value?
It's super important. I create a code in my head to remember what I put on the bottom. Each card has one letter, and I make word with the letter I put on under my deck. So I'm creating sentences in my head. Okay.
What's your you know what? I'm gonna ask you. So I need to improve on that. I need to be able to improve on that. What is like so what? How do you write that down? Do you apply a code to each card and then you like write it down on a piece of paper and then you're like, oh, okay, once I get there, here's my code. What do you do?
No, I actually, in the rules of One Piece, you can't write anything.
Oh, so I did not know that. I'm still relatively new to this TCG. It's only been like 4 months for me, I think. Yeah,
you can't write. I tried it everything too. So I tried, but you can't write. So it would be amazing if you could write anything on the paper, like in Magic the Gathering. You can write your opponent hand or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
But you can't do that. So you can do your own code, but I'm using a code. So each card is a letter, like Kaya is K, Zeph is Z, Spada is S, Flash is P. And I'm using this letter to make, and I will like be ZKA, and I will know that is Arabesque, Zeph, and Kaya. Okay. So that's really important. What you can do to improve it, that's really important, is you can organize your trash. You can put the trigger that remove 2 cards from your deck on one side, all the 4k counter, 6k counter on another side, and you can organize it. So I really had a lot of judge call that my opponent asked. He's taking a lot of he's organizing his trash. Can you do that? And you can do that, but that's something you can do to have a better picture of what is in your deck or in your life. And it's really important.
And I would say, like, especially if you're a player like Ramtin, who, like you have the knowledge of the deck, because the judge call, I think on the opponent's side, is very relevant. Like, they don't understand what you're doing, right? They don't understand why that's important. But especially for a Nami player, For those of who are picking the deck up relatively new, you have a lot of cards that, as you're alluding to, draw 2 cards. That is very important. The Impel Down, the Spadas, like the Pilafs, they all draw 2 cards off their triggers, and you need to know how many you have left. Let's say you have 2 life left and 6 cards left in your deck, and you know the bottom 4. You then need to start going into some odds. You then need to understand, okay, what are the odds that these 2 cards are like, Spada, whatever. And you go through your grid, you go through your trash, and you're like, oh no, all my Spadas are gone. But I have 1 Pilaf and 1 Impel Down, and it's not in my bottom 4. So now it's like, okay, out of what I have left, what if I draw them? What do I do? And so these are the lines that you have to go down.
Yeah. It's a game of information. You have tons of information by your cards in the cards on the bottom of the deck, the cards are in your trash. You just have to abuse of them.
So I mean the cards themselves. What was your all your rounds MVP card, the best card for you that day or the whole tournament?
I'm not super original, but I would say you mulligan for it actually, but you need Kaya and Pilaf. So that's the 2 MVP.
Okay.
If you don't have to do 2 cards in your hands, you have to mulligan. So I was happy to see them a lot of time.
Fair enough. I'll tell you what. So on the Kaya MVP, before I touch on that more, I'm the type of greedy player where I think the sim has taught me some bad habits where like I'll have players that will just swing 8k at me. It's like turn 2, right? So I'll be on the draw. On their turn 2, they'll swing 8k at me. They'll just attach all done.
Yeah.
And I will sometimes, if I have minimal triggers in my hand and like 1 gavel, I'll keep it. I'll keep it just off the gavel,
sure.
which could be bad, but it's a bad habit, but like I'll see the gavel and I'll see like a Spada and I'll be like, okay, I can defend a small swing. I can defend a big swing. There's almost no triggers in my hand, which means they could be in my life. I'm good.
No, it's a super good play, because if your opponent does nothing at his turn 1 and 2, you are happy to take 1 life. It's not a problem.
Yeah. And like you said, Kaya, the MVP. Did you find that, again, I gotta ask, because people will harp on me for this. I refer to Kaya as a 2K way too often. Like, you can play Kaya too, right? I'm like, I know you can play Kaya, don't worry. But Kaya's a 2K as well. How often do you find yourself playing Kaya early or saving it for a 2K? Or maybe that you're against the Sakazuki matchup where they have a Rob Lucci, they have the removal, that you just save the Kaya to play later. You don't even counter out with it because the Kaya is going to be important to you winning. How often in those 3 scenarios do you have the Kaya?
So for the counter part, you never use it as a counter. Just if you die, then point you have to use it. But you never use it as a counter.
See, this is where I can improve. I'm happy. I need someone to tell me this. This is good. I need someone to actually tell me this. This is good.
Please, never. But against Sakazuki, sometimes you don't have to play the Kaya and wait like a Arabesque or a Zeph to like play it, put it back in your hand, and like dodge every removal, everything that can put it under your deck. So it's how I would play it.
Okay, what are some of your other maybe favorite cards or interactions in the deck? So Kaya is your number 1. Fine, generic. What are some of your other favorite ones, and then ones that maybe have like some fun lines of play for you?
I like the other character. I like 8's.
Okay. I'm so happy you brought this up. Okay, I almost forgot about this. I'm so happy you brought this up because you know what?
Oh, you forgot. It was not. I think it was a question to talk about 8's.
Yes. Okay. I'm not a fan of 8's, like however you pronounce it. I don't know. I say 8's. I'm not a fan of 8's. I get it though. I honestly okay. When I say I'm not a fan of 8's, it's a personal choice, but I fully understand why you would play it. I get it. It looks for many targets in your deck. Looks for your Pilafs. It's a 2K counter. You play it for 1. Why do you like it? Is it for those reasons? Is there anything specific that folks like? Should you be always playing this card in your Nami deck? Or is it, again, a personal choice that you can get away with not playing?
No, I love Apis. I'm going to explain you why.
Okay, I love this.
When you are playing Nami, you have two parts of the game. You have the part when you are countering during the opponent turn. So he's attacking, you're countering, you're milling. And you have the other part of the game. You are doing proactive things during your own turn. Like playing Kaya Arabesque, play your Kaya, put it back in your hand, play your Zeph, mill 2 card, prepare an attack, or play your Senji Pilaf. And if you have nothing to play during your own turn, your opponent won't attack, will prepare a big board, and will kill you. And Apis, when everything's fine, you have card to play during your own turn and during the opponent turn, everything's fine. You can use Apis as a counter, as a discard. But the times that come that you have nothing to play and you are seeing your Katakuri opponent playing one big mom, a second big mom, and not attacking, just preparing a board, and you have nothing to play during your turn.
Yeah.
And Apis is there to discard 2 cards in your hand and go for a Pilaf, for a Zeph, for Kaya, because you have tons of Arabesque in your hand, but nothing to give back to your hand. So Apis is here to save you, and it's why I love her, because it's every time I play her, it's just saving me. And the second reason, like Sakazuki, love to put back card under your deck.
Yeah.
Like the Kaya. And when you have 3-4 cards in your deck and you can't end the game, you can play Apis, go for the Kaya that's in bottom, play the Kaya, and you can win like this. I win a lot of time like this because I had 3 cards in my deck, and I play Apis, go for the Kaya, and play the Kaya.
Okay, I'm sold. I think I've been playing Apis a little bit incorrectly, so I will admit that wholeheartedly. Okay, I don't know about everyone watching this right now, but I'm going back to the sim with 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies.
2 copies.
2 copies.
Because you will be always happier if you don't have to use it, always. Yeah. But even against Fabian, I was at one point where I play Apis. I went for Sanji Pilaf. I drew 2, and yeah, I did proactive things during my turn, and I could remove 1 card from my deck, draw 2 cards. Even if I do -1, -2 in card advantage, but it's really important to play during your turn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And on that note, so I'm gonna touch on the fact of doing proactive things on your turn, because I think that's another skill that folks remember or forget. There are things that you can do on your turn. How do you feel about the amount of times? Actually, I'm not even gonna ask this just yet, because I want to get through the cards first before I ask about combat in Nami. Cards that underperform for you. Do you think that, so I know that you're advocating at large. I think if folks are listening to this so far, you're advocating a lot for the base cards that are in Nami, but what are some cards that generally underperform for you? And if they underperform, would you remove them? Are there any changes that you would make to your list in general? Or do you think they just underperform because, I don't know, you just played Sakazuki like a million times, so whatever.
Zeph is a bad card with with a lot of Sakazuki. It's really hard. Zeph is really hard because there won't be a word that he will attack or So, but you can't remove it because you have to save your Kaya. You have to protect your Kaya by putting in your hand, but it's an expensive card. It's 5 down. He has to attack. There is tons of Salino. And even when Sakazuki play first, he can at 7 done attack with his leader, put -1 to Zeph, play Borsalino, put it back in your deck. It's so hard.
I mean, especially when you're attacking in, they'll just go Rebecca into Hina, and then they'll just block the Zeph with the Rebecca, and then you're like, I don't even know what I got like out of that.
But still, it's an important card because, as I said, you have to make Kaya dodge the removal, so it's an important card. But maybe there will be one world where we play just 3 Zeph. Maybe one day.
Maybe in OPO7, there are players out there that are doing not bad with 3 Zephs. I was like, well, hold on. Hold on now. Hold on. I'm not. My meta's not there. I'm still in OP05, but
Yeah.
3Zeph is kind of crazy. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Another card.
Yeah.
Another card, if I can add, Buggy. Buggy is it's not.
Oh, I'm so happy you brought this up. No, keep going. I'm actually so happy you brought up Buggy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Buggy is, but you have to play it right. Against Sakazuki, you can't play Buggy before you have 2 Kaya under your deck. It's a good. It's not the. It's. I think it's the worst card, but it's an important card. Why? Because when you have 2 Kaya under your deck, you can put five card back in under your deck with Buggy, and that's really important. But never play a Buggy turn 1 and say, "Oh no, I whiff. I couldn't take anything." That's not the way you have to play Buggy.
Okay, so I wanna highlight what you just said there. So the two things that you just said there. Okay, so Buggy is important.
Yeah.
So if you're getting your cards bottom decked, Buggy, even if you whiff, is a way to push up your cards that you need.
Correct.
So you know your cards are getting bottom decked, even if you whiff. And I'm so happy you brought up the whiff thing. So many people will say, "Oh, I whiff so much with Buggy." It doesn't matter. And I try and convince people it does not matter. It does not matter if you whiff. Pushing up valuable cards is important. And then knowing more of the bottom of your deck is so important. Because now it's just not, you buggied or you spotted and you put the cards at the bottom. Okay, now you know the bottom 3. Then you buggied and you whiff. Guess what? Now you know the bottom 8 of your deck. That's even more valuable. Now you're setting up your late game. So now your plan is like, I have to get to my late game and I know how my deck is. So that's really important too.
Exactly. You're right.
And what do you say to the players that say, "I don't want to play Buggy, I whiff"? I whiff all the time. I can never find Deathwing. All I ever find is Impel Downs. Or, you know what? I'm a fancy player. I play Gum Gum Rain too. I can never find my Gum Gum Rains. I can never find my Deathwings. I always find Impel Down.
No, first, when you take an Impel Down with Buggy, you should be happy. It's a wonderful day if you touch on Impel Down with Buggy, because you remove 1 card from your deck and you have something to discard. That's for real. So play Buggy rightly and everything will be okay.
How many times have you played Impel Down? I want to know. Because you know what? It's such a niche thing. I've done it maybe 3 times. One of the times I still lost the game, but the other 2 times, actually it helped me. Like just discard cards out of my hands. How many times have you actually played Impel?
Reduce your hand to play like One Call and Love Dim.
Pardon? Sorry, say that again?
Why you would play Impel Down? Just to discard 2 cards from your hand?
Just to discard 2 cards. So I've had scenarios where I've had multiple Impels in my hand. Or just cards that I just like I don't want to play. And like obviously at the end of the day, it could like mostly what happens in those 3 scenarios, every single time the scenario was I had 2 Impels in my hand and I have no way to discard. I would have like Deathwink, X amount of cards, no way to discard them, and 2 Impels. So I have to play Impel to discard the other Impel, and then probably just like to save on Dawn. Like I was trying to be really optimal. I would like discard a Spada, because then I'm thinking, okay, if I want to enable this Deathwink, I can get rid of the characters, and then I can redraw with Deathwink and cast the cards that come off of it. So I'm assuming by your reaction, you have never cast Deathwink or Impel Down. You have never cast Impel.
So you are telling me that you paid 1 Dawn to discard 2 of your hand, 3 of your cards.
I'll tell you what, it's worked out for me. But again, you know how I play. I play greedy. So I see this is me as a player saying, I know my plan is to enable this Deathwink. My plan is to enable this Love. And I need to get cards out of my hand that are just dead. I can't find my I can't find my Gavels. My Mr. Ones are disappearing. You know, I can't recur my Gavels. So I need to get rid of cards. So how many has that happened to you? I'm guessing it hasn't.
Never.
So I'm doing the wrong thing. Okay.
No, maybe not. Maybe I'm lucky I don't have this kind of hand. So maybe one day I will play this kind. But you have so much card that make you discard. You have Gavel, you have the Kaya, so you really have to be in a bad shape to just discard 2 cards like this.
Look, 4 months of playing this game, hundreds of games, for you as well, in those hundreds of games, 3 times that I can remember. So that's the only reason I ask. People are like, how many times does this even come up? I'm like, look, You play this deck enough, you will come across every scenario. I've come across some weird stuff, but yeah.
That's true. I don't know if I did another weird thing, but no, it's never done that.
Have you ever had a scenario where, this is another one that tends to get brought up every so often in the Nami Discord, where you will play a card, maybe something like Gum Gum Gavel, right?
Yep.
But you want two things to occur. So Gavel mills 2 cards from your deck, but it also says you can buff up to 1 character. So have there been scenarios for you where you choose not to buff your character because you want to mill the 2 cards, but you also want to take the life because you want to go off the trigger? Has there ever been a scenario like that for you? For me, I think maybe once, if at all. It's very rare that I choose not to buff my Nami to take the life.
Yeah.
But people love to bring up these niche scenarios, especially with me, because they're like, oh, you know, how does this happen with you? You're the content creator, you're playing. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. No. Maybe it was time there was a big attack that I countered, but not enough to counter the attack, and just I mill some card and take my life. But the scenario that you said, I never know.
Intentionally, yeah. I think it has to be very niche. I think there are times where I will admit, maybe this one has happened to you more, where I have to accept the fact, like, I know that I have a bunch of dead cards in my hand, in the sense that, like, I have like Spadas in my hand. Spadas don't take you through the deck. They set you up. And I'm taking a bunch of hits. Maybe I have like 10 cards left in library. And I'll think, okay, I have to take a bunch of hits here, because based on their board state, I can't counter out next turn likely. So I know I need some of these life triggers to draw me cards. So maybe, again, that's me being greedy. Late game, sometimes there'll be games where I'll just take all hits, go to 0, and just say, okay, I have like 8 to 10 cards left in deck. I need to draw some cards off this life or I lose this game. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. It's very 50-50.
Sometimes you have like 11, 12 cards in your deck, and you know that you won't be able to finish your deck because 12 is too much, 11 is too much. So you need to take the life, even if you can counter it, just to be able to finish the next turn. So sometimes you have to take some life to make it happen. Like
just set up that win. This is a question that I didn't really set up, but I think it's important to. I think it's an interesting discussion for maybe newer Nami players or folks that want to get better at the game. I like to keep, I guess, stages in the game with my life in comparison to how much cards I have left. I have been going about telling folks that, okay, I am comfortable taking a life if I am if I'm 30 or under cards. That is when I'm most comfortable taking a life. If I have to take a life before that, whatever. But if I'm sub 30, so you start off with 40 cards, 5 cards in hand, 5 cards in life. If you are sub 30 cards, I'm happy to take a life. I think if you're sub 10 cards, you have 10 or less cards, maybe like 12 or less, and you have like 2 to 3 life, I think you're in a really good spot.
Okay, I see.
I think so. And that's how I like to like mark the pressure in the game.
I like the way you're thinking, but I really I think it's a good strategy. I'm not doing that. It's more about my hand. If I see plays that I can make next turn, or I have nothing to play next turn, I would be comfortable to take a life. But if I have some play to do and I know I can counter, at this point I won't take any life. It's more like this. It's more about my hand and about the board. But I think it's possible to theorize when you have to take a life for the number of cards left in your deck. I think
everyone listening to this, please listen to Ramtin's method before mine. I am but a lonely content creator. Ramtin's a successful one. Okay, I just want to just follow his method. Okay, his method of actually thinking through the hand, the board state, what you have left. That is smarter. I am simply using some random milestones. Please. I am not. His method's better.
I think it's a good idea. No, I really think we can theorize that. It's a good idea, really.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's my discussion about the individual cards at large, and we can kind of bring them up. I want to go into maybe matchups in the metagame right now. So matchups themselves from the top. Sakazuki, we already talked about, but let's go over this. I want to, and we don't need to go into in-depth in each one of these matchups. Maybe if you could provide quick tips or your best tip, and maybe like what's like a no-no, like what do you not want to do? Like, okay, play out your Zeph early, play out your Kaya early, or you know, use a card in a certain way against these matchups. So the Sakazuki matchup, what's your best tip, and maybe what's like a play that you don't want to make or something, however you want to elaborate.
But for Sakazuki, I'm still not sure, but I really think you have to go first. Really.
Oh, okay. This is a topic I didn't even add. Going first versus going second. Why? I like this. That's a hot take. I like this.
Because
I like this.
Because Sakazuki can be the grindiest deck you want. He won't win the late game against Nami. You will win the late game. The only way Sakazuki can win against Nami is to play more aggressive. Your worst nightmare against Sakazuki is him to play Ina at 5k attack.
Yes.
Turn 2 with 3 down. This is the worst nightmare.
Yes.
He's going to be aggressive, and you don't want to see someone aggressive against Nami. And the worst thing, it's with 7 done, you can play Borsalino on curve and put something back in the. So I really think, as a Sakazuki, you have to go first against Nami.
So taking that curve away from them. That's what you're saying. Taking that curve away from them. Interesting. I have to try this.
And obviously he won't attack first, so you have one less attack too. But I don't know.
I'm like really thinking about this. This is interesting.
Because both of the deck logically want to go second, but in this case you need to go first. You have to go first. I'm not sure, but I would be curious to know what other Nami player would say. What do you think, you?
So in general, I've been with and I'm more than happy to change. So I have done my diligence to try and abuse the usual dogma of Nami. People have always said, generally speaking, you're going second. And I've done that over hundreds and hundreds of games. But I haven't been very adaptable to it because I understand that the whole merit of going second is you have one extra card. That's it, right? Like you have one extra card.
That's the only thing.
In terms of the individual matchups themselves, going first against Sakazuki, I see your point, and I think it's understandable. In that case, I want to actually extend that. If you're going first against Sakazuki, do you find yourself swinging at them with Nami more, or is the first just to stop them off curve?
Yeah, it's the curve and the first attack, and then it's just a regular game. But you don't have the Ina turn 2. And you don't have the Borsalino on curve. It's the only thing.
So I actually really like this idea of, so you're kind of abating that first. You get to essentially play. So the way folks, you want to think about this, you get to play an extra card, right? Like you get to go through your deck a little bit, for assuming you have like a Kaya in hand or maybe a Buggy to get one. You get to go through a little bit more of your deck before they attack you. Essentially, if you went second, you get to play one card. Maybe right, you get to play one card and then they attack you. Whereas if you go first, you get to play a card on 1 dawn, and then you come back on 3 dawn, and then you have more dawn to counter out. That's my thinking anyway. Go on.
But the thing is, you can turn 5. Yeah, I mean turn 3 when you have 5 done.
Okay.
You can play Zeph without being afraid of the Borsalino after, because he will be at 6 done. This is one reason too. Because if you go second, you will have 6 done, and you will be able to play Zeph, and then he can play Borsalino and put it back in your deck. It's the only time you can play Zeph without being.
Otherwise, they would have to go. They have to go 2 cards. Like they have to go Ice Age into like Lucci to deal with it. They have to use 2 cards essentially, right? Yeah.
Because when you are playing second, you play Zeph, you play Kaya, play Zeph, you put back Kaya in your hand. and he has 7 done because he went first, and he just attacked with his leader and put -1 to your Zeph, and then play Borsalino to put Zeph. It's over, like for real. And Zeph is a bad card in the matchup.
I think you've convinced me. I think you've convinced me. I have to. Okay, you've convinced me to try this. I like that.
Just right. And to be honest, it's something I discovered during the tournament. Even if I play a ton of Sakazuki before the tournament, because there was this guy, I think it was round 5, that won the dice roll and said, "I go first," and I was like, "What?" And I don't know. I didn't even talk to him, but yeah, I think he was right.
And like I guess like it worked out in that sequence. Okay, yeah. I won't argue against this. I really like that reasoning. It has. Yeah. I really like this reasoning. I like desperately like. I want to like end this call and go to this sim and play 50 games of Sakazuki right now just to test it. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You know what? More testing. Everyone watching this right now, try going first against Sakazuki. I like it.
That's right. Although I would like to know.
Although you did win plenty of games going second against Sakazuki as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. So I want folks to understand that this isn't, we're not changing the dogma, but it's always worth trying something new because that's sound reasoning. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
The NL and the Katakuri matchup, I'm just kind of bugging them together because they may not play the same cards. A Katakuri is definitely more aggressive. They'll build wider. Like if they go Ohm into like Ohm into the dog, then it can be kind of annoying. That's 2 5Ks for the cost of 4.
Yep.
But I mean, I find in these matchups, NL is either too slow, and Katakuri, I find, almost has no cards left. I find you can swing into Katakuri more and force out more. I've gotten into more matchups against Katakuri where, like, in the end game, I can wipe out their board because they have nothing left to counter out with. To be fair, yellow draws cards terribly, and NL, they just usually swing like one character at a time. They'll just play one big thing. That's been my experience. They'll play like, I don't know, they'll play 7 cost NL, then they'll play Big Mom, and you're just having to counter out like one thing at a time. I don't know. What's your experience against the yellow matchup?
I think you point everything, but yeah, as I said, yellow, it's a really good matchup. What I wrote, it was like, against Kata, as I said, you really need to have proactive things to do during your turn, as I said, because if you don't do anything because you don't have any card like Pilaf or Zeph or Kaya Arabesque to put back something to play proactively during your turn, he will just wait, put a big board, put Big Mom, and no attack, and just wait and then attack with his board. So try to target the card that do things during your turn, but generally Kata is a slow deck. He won't be able to kill you before you mill your deck.
And I guess pointing back to something you said earlier, this is why something like 8's is really good, because it's a proactive card that gets more proactive cards. So a card like that would be really valuable in the yellow matchup based on the strategy. Yeah.
Exactly, and there for it's true for both of the deck, but there is only one card. No, there is 2 cards. There is they have a lot of trouble to deal with your Zeph.
Okay.
They need a Thunderbolt or the Yamato or what's the name of the card? The 5-drop. That's
Gidatsu. It's like Gidatsu, you remove equal to like the amount of life you have or less or something. Yeah.
So something you have to keep in mind. So you can easily take the first life because you go to 4 and the 4.
I like that. That's a tip. I'll tell people. I'm like, sometimes it's worth it to take an early swing if your hand has Zeph. If you know you're playing Zeph, take the hit. The Gidatsu can't get you. Force them to have the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, because in top 16, I play against one Air, and Zeph won the game. First match he did an attack, and I win like this. And the second one, I put a Zeph, and he couldn't deal with it. There is 2 cards. There is Yamato and Thunderbolt. So it's a hard matchup for them.
Yeah, Yamato I think is like it's the total amount of life between the 2 players.
Exactly.
And then Thunderbolts is just 5 or less, so that's a lot harder to deal with. I wish we had something like that. Well, we kind of do. We have like Nojiko and stuff, but returning a hand and bottom decking is different. But okay, so that's the yellow matchups. I'm gonna bunch together the purple matchups, although they can potentially play slightly different. Red purple Luffy and purple Luffy, the ramp decks.
Unfortunately, I don't really know the red purple Luffy because I didn't play against a lot, and we don't really have player here of red purple. But the purple Luffy is a really bad matchup.
Yeah.
The only advice I can tell you, it's like care about the low that make you discard if you have 7 cards.
Oh yeah. Sometimes honestly, I find that sometimes I just have to force them to have it. Like I like sometimes it's like, oh, man, that deck builds such a crazy board against you. There's so many good 5-cost cards that deck has, and they build such a board of like 6-7k attackers at you. And then I'm just like, you either have the law or you don't. Like I'm gonna keep like 8-9 cards in my hand, and you have the law or you don't. Like I don't know. Like it's so hard. That matchup is
it's really hard because if you want to know, my last round of the first day, my last round was against purple Luffy, and I was desesperated because he played Ultia Page.
Oh, yeah.
Like turn 2, and then he did Magellan, and it was a nightmare. And I was so lucky with my trigger, and I managed to win this game. But when you saw the double body on the board, and you have to remove one of
and the Magellan to punish your Dawn and everything, and like
it's a really but for the low you have a good deck to it's funny because it's not to be a good deck when you can do -1 by
exactly. It's a good deck to discard cards from your hand.
That's great. You can easily do Kaya, but basically Kaya, you know it's a -1. Arabesque is again a -1, so you can aggressively do it on your first turn to make the low trigger. So
I've told people that Kaya is essentially, for those of you Magic players, it's faithless looting or careful study. It is looting or careful study. Careful study is probably more so careful study because looting has the flashback. That's another level of card advantage. So for looting is a whole other discussion. But anyway, it's card selection. It's card disadvantage, but you want to think of it like card selection because the effect keeps you even on cards, but in terms of advantage, you're negative overall. You spend 3 cards for 2.
You said everything.
So the aggressive matchups. I'm gonna end off here in terms of matchups. Let's start with Betty. Let's start with Betty.
Betty is hard.
Just a bit.
But I'm not gonna lie, aggressive matchup is so hard, but we are not in a field with aggressive matchup or good. So,
thank you, Sakazuki. Thank you, Sakazuki, for that one.
Thank you. So because Sakazuki are good against Betty, an aggressive deck, but not too much, but we are really bad against aggressive deck.
I don't know, Sakazuki like. You play Rob Lucci, I don't even know what Betty does. You play Rob Lucci, I don't understand what that deck does against you.
You don't attack in early, and you just deal with his board, and it's win. But I think, unfortunately, Betty is not a good deck right now.
What about Nami's? I guess like one of the more infamously bad matchups, Law, red purple Law, or I think it's red green Law. I think it's probably worse, but
which Law? Both are bad, but red green Law, it's kind of the same deck than you. He's doing his own thing, and you are doing your own thing, and it's the first player that make the biggest board or
and then their thing is generally just a little bit better. Because it's aggressive.
You just have to against red green Law. Again, I don't really know the matchup, but you have to pray. Like if he puts like 4 or 5 body turn 2, it's maybe over.
There was like, I think I've I've never beat Law, even against newer players. The board just, it's pretty much like the type of deck where I found that you don't even need the matchup knowledge. If you know how to play your deck, if you know how to goldfish your Law deck, you will win. Like it's just built to do it. You don't need to do the Nami matchup where you like swing 7-9, just swing. Create a board and swing, you'll get there. It'll work. And then
for Zoro is the same.
Yeah, that's 3-cost Zoro gives me a headache. 3-cost Rush Zoro gives me like, I see it resolved and I'm like, I want to concede right there. And I hate the fact that the red purple Luffy deck, they'll play Rush Zoro. I'm like, you're already ramping to like all these crazy cards and then you're just gonna beat me with the Rush Zoro. It kills me every time. That card, it's a good card. I get it. I know why it should be in the game. It's still annoying. It's still really annoying.
Yeah. And you know that it has to be some, like you played Magic, you know that the aggressive deck are the police of the meta. If you don't have the aggressive deck, like the field of the meta game become insane. So
yeah, exactly.
You need this kind of card.
It's kind of like you know, for those of you that have played Magic, have you played Legacy at all? The Legacy format in Magic?
Not really. I play a lot of Modern and Pioneer, but not.
Fair enough. So I'm a big Modern and Pauper player myself. So in Legacy, I know that from my limited knowledge. So for those of you One Piece players, you only have one format. There's only really one way you play, but there's two legalities. But you're essentially playing the same format, where you are playing with everything that is legal. It's just the East is a little bit farther ahead than us. In Magic, you have multiple, and in Legacy, what happens is it's a very expensive format to get into. Decks can be thousands of dollars, which is, you know, I hear people talk about a couple $100 decks, and I'm sitting here with my rich self playing Magic with my $1,000 decks anyway. So one of the things that happens in paper versus online is online, we have like our digital clients have like rental services. So you can get expensive decks for relatively cheap, really cheap. But in paper, you can't do that. You're buying your cards. So there is an abnormally high amount of burn, aggressive red decks in paper Legacy that are like $300 that will just be playing against these $4,000 decks. And it's really obnoxious because you have to, the metagame in paper is very different than online because you have to prepare against red. You have to. There will be players there that are like, I want to play Legacy. I have $300 and this deck is actually really good. It's actually really good. Yeah. But in the general scheme of things, it's not. So that's kind of like red right now. We're like at your locals. Yeah, you got a 4-round locals. The Whitebeard player is going to beat you because you weren't ready for Whitebeard. No. You teched your Sakazuki deck against yellow today. And of course, you get matched up against Law. You get matched up against Whitebeard. You're going to get washed. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, if you went to a tournament like this that you went to, you're going to play Sakazuki the majority of the time. So prep that way.
Majority of time. Yeah.
You're going to prep that way. So
that's completely correct.
Final section, I guess, of the discussion here. I want to get into maybe some broader topics about the One Piece TCG and just pick your brain a little bit. So, in terms of TCG in general, do you play other decks in One Piece? And if you do, or if you don't, would you recommend or not recommend playing other decks? Maybe if you're a Nami player, would you recommend playing other decks, or would you recommend they focus on one?
I think Nami is a OTP deck. Like you have to be in to play Nami. You can't like, oh, today I'm going to play Sakazuki. It's a bit the same like as Sakazuki. It's an OTP deck. Like you need to know all your matchup. You know you have to know which card is good against who. So it's more like this. Okay. So if you want to play other deck, I would recommend other blue deck. Maybe like Coco or maybe Sakazuki. You will be able to know even more the matchup, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I largely agree. I think I would only recommend folks play other decks just to learn how that deck sequences, and I think that's a good way for players to understand. Okay, the knowledge that you were talking about are like, okay, at this point they're playing this way, so they might have this in hand, or like, what could they play at this turn? What they discarded this card with the Sakazuki ability. What does that mean?
So what does that mean?
What does that mean in terms of what they have in hand? So
because it's funny because I play tons of game of Nami, And at one point, I was like, someone give me his deck to play just to try, and I was like, how we attack in this game? I was like, how I'm attacking because
Okay.
I was just playing some Kaya, and I was like, okay, can I attack his not rested character? I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. So this happened to me literally at the anniversary event. I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna sign up to anniversary. This is fun. This is my kind of first like kind of bigger event, and because I've been playing locals a ton and just on the sim. And I went in there. I think like the top leaders that you could bring was probably like NL and Kid. Like Green Kid was a good one because you can attack twice. You can restand him. And I'm sitting there like, oh my god, I gotta attack. What do I do here? And then like they'll attack me, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a gum gavel. I actually have to use my characters. This is so hard. What do I discard?
I know the feel.
It's like, oh,
sometimes
y'all just discard your characters. This is so hard. You guys don't have events. Like, this is so hard. And then I ended up drafting this deck that has like 10 events in it because I didn't understand how combat worked. I'm like, how do you guys survive combat without these events? What do you do? Like,
I got it. Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah, those are some other decks, I guess. So what are you excited for the future of One Piece? I guess as a card game that you're playing maybe relatively actively, are you looking for more Nami support, more alternative win conditions, more formats? Maybe what are you looking forward to?
I don't think Nami is healthy for the meta game. I think it's not a healthy deck.
Fair enough.
We both know that it's so funny to play Nami. We both know that.
Yes,
but we can understand that people that playing against us is not funny for them.
A lot of times, especially for new players, it is a nightmare. They do not know what to do.
It's a nightmare. We know that. And because I was in that tournament, every time I was playing Nami, the two people just near me was like, oh, nice Nami deck, oh, super nice. And my opponent was like, oh no, not Nami.
Not Nami. I think actually one thing was someone played Nami. I think I was watching an interview off the European Nationals. Someone played Nami, and they're talking about how they didn't really know the matchup at all, and they're like they somehow won because they just did their thing or whatever. And like, sometimes that's how it is. Like sometimes the Nami player gets unlucky, but usually against newer players, like they'll just swing like vanilla attacks at you, and then you're like, oh, this is a new player. I'm gonna win this. It does not matter what my triggers could be all Zephs. I'm gonna win this because they don't know what they're doing.
But people doesn't like to play against Nami. But please just know the matchup, because I think there was not a single player before the top 64 that really knew the matchup and knew that it has to do some attack like this. People doesn't know the deck, and I think Nami will maybe, I don't know with the new card, but I won't be that strong that this is right now because people doesn't know the deck and will know the deck. So just try, because even in the I don't know if I can talk about the simulator that you can play,
go on. With the sim.
On the sim, when you play Nami, like every time you will play against someone, he will dodge the matchup. He won't play the game. Like he will.
It's so annoying. Sometimes I'm just trying to get like a quick game in, quick couple of games. People keep leaving. I'm like, oh my god, please, please.
But sometimes it's good because you will have some tournament, and if you don't know the matchup, it's hard to win.
What are some? So with that in mind, I mean, with Nami, you're saying Nami's not healthy for the meta. In terms of in general for One Piece, what are some changes that you would make to the game in general? Like, let's say you were a game designer or you were a tournament organizer. What do you think? Like, maybe it comes down to like the rules or how tournaments are organized or just like how leaders are designed. Like, what is maybe one or two things that you would change about the game, good or bad?
I will change the overtime rules. I think it's
okay. I agree wholeheartedly. After seeing what happened to you, wholeheartedly, I agree. I'm on your side.
You on the Swiss round, you have 35 minutes to play one game, and nobody knows why, but at top game you have only 1 hour to play 3 games. So how you do that? I would change that. I would change the time you have. Maybe you can put 15 more minutes. And for the rule of the number of cards in the deck, it's only disadvantage one deck, and it's Nami. So maybe we can do something more fair.
I think so. Okay, I agree wholeheartedly. When I learned that you only had an hour to play 3 games, and people said it's more than enough time, I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
it's really not. There are some decks that will literally, like, especially if you're playing against Nami, it is very valid for them to sit there and think about what is going on, because they really need to understand, like, okay, do I play this Sabo to draw 2, discard 2, or do I save that Dawn to hold up a counter? Or like there are legitimate lines that you need to think about odds, and I understand that as a Nami player. And then I will also take time to be like, okay, you know what? I need 5 minutes because I'm gonna go through my graveyard or my trash. I'm going to go through, I'm going to count, I'm going to, think about this mentally. That's going to take a couple minutes of my time. And I have an hour to play 3 games? Insane. Absolutely insane. I would be called for slow play actively, because I don't think that's enough time. In terms of the deck count, would you say that you would increase the amount of cards to like 60? Or are you saying we should decrease the amount of cards to make it better for Nami?
Well, I think 50, it's okay. We have it's perfect. We just have to change the rule of the overtime. For a next turn things of the game, I think it's important to reprint card too.
Oh, yes.
Something I would change. I would reprint more, because when there is a TCG and people that want to start the game and they can't because there is no structure deck or there is no affordable deck because the cards are so unpayable.
Yeah,
it's really important to reprint. So this is, I think I would do too. But I think in general the game is super cool. They have a super cool license. I mean, One Piece is a good word. You can make a lot of character, a lot of cool.
There's a lot of hype around it too, with the live action. The studio. Exactly. There's the other studio that's remaking the series. There's a lot of hype around it right now. So
exactly. Yeah, for real. So I think they have gold in them hand.
Yeah.
But they don't have to miss with the.
Yeah, they're working with gold, but they're selling you bronze, in my opinion. But, they're selling you bronze, in my opinion. But I mean, so I guess Nami, whether or not being good or bad for the game, do you think that, in your history with Magic and everything included, do you think that the game should include more alternate win conditions, become more complex, or do you think that this game being combat and leader focused is the direction to take this game, that we should be focusing on different ways to manipulate your Dawn and different ways to, I don't know, this leader gains plus 3k if this condition is met? Or should we say, like, okay, if you have these 5 characters at the end of your turn, you win the game? Like, should we go towards alternative win conditions? Like, what do you think?
I really would like to know what you think about that, but I think it's so fun. Have alternative win con. It's so funny. So why not, if they are fair and like not too good for the metagame or for the game? I think why not? It's so funny.
I think so. I'm biased as a Magic player. I'm biased. I am a Mill player through and through. I've been playing Magic for 10 years. I've been playing Mill for 7. So it's been a very long time with this archetype and alternative win conditions. I'm very familiar with text that says I win the game. And
you played a lot of crab, right?
A lot of crabs. I played a lot of Thassa's Oracle. I played a lot of Laboratory Maniac. I played a lot. And so I think, especially from a Magic perspective, I think the game can do a lot better in terms of its complexity and its interaction. But I will give it a pass in the sense that it's only a year and a half old. It's very new, 2 years old if you think about like the Eastern metagame. I think it has a lot of room to grow. We are just getting graveyard recursion with Moria in OPO6, which I think is really late. I think like I think the ways that this game has evolved, and I've talked to people at locals, is like eventually there'll be an alternative zone. Magic has exile, but there will be an alternative zone to trash. I think that there needs to be more manipulation in terms of your graveyard. I think the game will be shocked when, not if, when a tutor is printed, because you can search the top 5 cards. Every color has a 1-cost searcher. No deck has a tutor. A true, I can look at my whole deck and look for a card, and that will happen. And what will happen at that point? So. You don't think so?
No, because Bandai, because one of my friends that's playing a lot of other games, Bandai, like I think it's Digimon, they still don't have a tutor. Because Bandai is not super...
I didn't know Bandai printed Digimon. Okay, this is good. I like this. Okay, tell me. So they haven't printed a tutor.
Yeah, they didn't print a tutor, and when you play a One Piece game, you never shuffle your deck, give your deck to your opponent to cut it. It's super smooth. You just draw, and I think it's something, maybe you are right, but they will try to keep it, because it's something really... Yeah, it's annoying in Magic when you fetch, you have to give your deck to your opponent.
I mean, the games are generally longer as well. You have sideboarding as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Would be nice.
And I think, so I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to touch on sideboarding in a second here. I'm going to touch on sideboarding in a second here. And I want your opinion on this too. And I guess, so with the, with tutors, so Digimon doesn't have it. My thought was that with Yu-Gi-Oh!
I think so, I'm not sure.
So with Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like the complete opposite. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like the extreme, where you have genuinely a lot of games that you will have 2-turn games, right? And that'll happen. And sure, that doesn't have to be all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes games go, 3, 4, whatever turns and more. Yeah. But the game is really oppressive. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very, like, I find an unfriendly game. Like, it's a very hard game to learn, very easy to master. And I find Magic is a very easy game to learn, hard to master. So it's like opposite that way. And I think One Piece right now, in my opinion, I think it's an easy game to learn, an easy game to master. Because the large majority of decks, in my opinion, play the same. You are playing combat, you are countering out in similar ways, and setting up win conditions is relatively the same. If you remove abilities, like, 10 cost Big Mom removes a life. And then, I don't know, Magellan manipulates your Dawn and you can ramp with your leader, whatever. Those are the abilities. Generally, you play a character a turn. Sometimes characters allow you to play 2. You have 2K counters in hand. That's the formula that I've seen. I don't know what your take is on that.
I think games that constantly give back the priorities to your opponent, make a decision or to play a card, are harder game, like Magic. And I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like this too. Constantly you have to you have to let your opponent do something on the resolution or in response to what you do, and that's our hard game to master. So I agree that One Piece is easy to learn, easy to master, and Magic is of course hard to master, but I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too. But I think it's that the fact
fair.
that
I have limited experience with Yu-Gi-Oh! So I will, I'll take your side on this.
I think you pointed it out, because I think that the thing that makes it hard is the priorities. And you don't have really that in One Piece, because you don't really play during your opponent turn, just when he's attacking, and you can counter his attack. But maybe one day there will be some instant that you will be able to play at the end of your
at any time. So for those of you listening and don't know what Ramtin's talking about here, and what I was alluding to, imagine, so in combat, the only time you can respond is generally it will say counter on it. So you the viewers know that you can only when they attack, your cards will have counter, and sometimes it'll say you can activate this on your main. Imagine every single card in the game had the potential, not that they do, there are cards that can they have the potential to say counter, but you could play that card at any point. You could play it when they play a character. You could play before they play a character. You could play when they draw a card. Imagine, and I'm not saying every card in Magic does that. I'm saying it has the potential to do that due to interactions with other cards and everything. So that creates a lot of complex board states, and a lot of people don't like that. And that's fine. I don't want One Piece to become Magic.
That's fine.
I just think that this game, it's working with gold, and I agree with you. I want to see this game grow, and I think there's a lot more this game can do. This game can be really interesting. I liken it a lot to, you may not have played the Transformers TCG. That game was really cool. It's very combat focused. It was really interesting. I liken it to that. This game is very much like Weiss Schwarz, which I think is another leader based game. And it's new for me. I haven't played leader based TCGs before. This is similar to Pokemon. This game is similar to Pokemon, where like your life is like your deck. Essentially, like you flip cards over, and like whenever you get hit or your Pokemon dies, you like flip a card. I think this game has a lot to know, like a lot to learn. I think so.
Yeah, I hope so, actually.
Okay, sideboarding, quick. Sideboarding. I think this game, I think a format with sideboarding would actually be really cool. I don't know how you would do it. I get it. One of the bigger attractions to One Piece is like, I could go to locals in 2 hours. I could be done. 2.5 hours. Like I could play 4 or 5 rounds of One Piece. I'm done. I'm out of there. That's a lot. That's a lot of games. But with Magic, you play 1 game an hour, essentially. And that's a lot for people. If you introduce sideboarding, it can get kind of crazy. What do you think? Should One Piece have a format eventually with sideboarding?
Maybe not. I like it because you know that sideboarding rewards good player, because you can adapt yourself, change your deck, and bad matchup can become good matchup because you have sideboard, because you can adapt yourself. But maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe the game is good like this, and maybe we would have less player, less motivates people that make tournaments. So I don't know. I'm okay to see what people want, and if people doesn't like sideboarding, why not?
So, just to provide a small point for Nami players, one way that you could sideboard, because you have a lot of blue events that do different things. One thing I always bring up is against the Betty matchup that plays a lot of low cost cards, you could play Dragon Twister. Dragon Twister gives you a 4K counter that you can bottom deck a 1 or 2 cost, which is really valuable against aggressive matchups. Now, I'm not saying that Dragon Twister generally isn't really playable outside of that, because it's a 4K counter that doesn't really do much outside of that. But if you had sideboarding against an aggressive deck, you could play more cards like that. So anyway, just a small thing about sideboarding. But
if you can remove Zeph in bad matchup and bring back some, that's cool.
Exactly. And then maybe I don't know, people like Overheat. That's another card that people like. So you could bring in more Overheats, drop your Zephs. Maybe you need more 4K counters, whatever. Okay. So
do you like Overheat actually?
So
do you like?
I've tried Overheat. I think out of most of the flex cards that you could play in Nami, there's a couple that I consider relatively high. So I think 8's is a flex card in the sense that there's a core of the deck, I think, and then there's about 4 flex slots that you have in OPO5. I think about 4 to 5 that you can generally like plus or minus. 8's isn't one of them, because if you mathematically, if you go 4-4-4-4, you're left with like 2 cards to go to like 50 in your deck, right? 8's is one of them. 8's is really high. Even though I don't play it, it's really high. Actually, I don't like Gum Gum Rain. I lied. Rush Usopp, I think as a 1-of is fine. I don't like it more. I personally really like Soga King because I have an alt art. So Soga King gets bonus because I have an alt art. But I actually really do like Overheat because of the 4K counter and the ability to bounce Kaya. The big flaw in that plan, though, is if Sakazuki is everywhere, then it's really hard for Kaya to stick in time for combat to save her. But if you're playing in OPO6, it's actually a lot easier because Yamato, you have like double attack Yamato, and then you have like Moria, which is recurring their own stuff. It's not really removing. So you can have a lot more times where you can recur your Kaya. So I like Overheat in OPO6 more than I do in OPO5. So those are the 4 big cards. I think like Soga King, Rush Usopp, Overheat, and 8's, I think you could generally play. 8's, I think is 8's and Overheat, I actually put like highest. I would rather play those 2 cards over many other options in the flex slots. That's my take.
Okay. Nice to hear the
I think I do like Overheat. Soga King is a personal flavor. I don't know. Rush Usopp. Okay, what do you think about Rush Usopp? I have to ask. So many people have tried to get me to play Rush Usopp. Yes, I have an alt art of Rush Usopp. I will flex the Rush Usopp every so often. Fine, but like you can counter out with it. People are like, oh, it's a yeah. There's no counter. There's no counter on Rush Usopp.
Oh, there's no. It was I thought. Yeah, it's a bad card. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't get it. I don't look. I have the amount of times that I've connected with Rush Usopp with its like ability. Yeah. I could count on one hand. I played hundreds, maybe thousands of games. I've counted once in one hand, 4 times. Yeah. I don't know. It barely happens. Most of the times I'm discarding it to Gavel, but
yeah. And you won the game you connect with.
I mean, of course, yeah. Like that's pretty much it, right? It's one of those things where it's like if you can connect with Zeph once, the game flips back in your favor. Essentially, in my opinion, like 7 cards is huge. That's essentially almost 25% of your deck. It's like 20, I think, mathematically, but it's a huge number. But yeah, I mean that's the primary discussion that I have. I could go on for years. I could talk a mile a minute. But is there, before we end things off, is there anything else that you wanted to mention that maybe or discuss that we might have missed around Nami, One Piece, strategy, anything?
No, nothing more to say. I think
nothing more to say. Okay, so I mean, I guess looking ahead in the future, will you be playing more One Piece? Will you be attending more tournaments? Like, what's your will you be playing more Nami? Or are you going to try something different? What's your outlook on the One Piece TCG right now?
Yeah, now I think I'm in love with Nami. It's my favorite deck. It brings so much for me. So yeah, I think I will play Nami until the end of my life. But
yeah.
I love the deck. Yeah, the deck is great. A lot of cool thing to do. So I will play Nami, and I will add the new card that Row 1.
Yes, that's one of the last things I wanted to bring up here. White Snake. OP06.
Yeah, correct.
OP06. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think? Everyone's playing it as a 4-of. It's a until end of turn effect. It draws you a card unconditionally. What do you think? What do you think about White Snake?
It's so big because now that this card exists, you can't now attack for 9, because if you attack for 9 and you already have one White Snake, your opponent has basically have to adapt himself to White Snake. So it will be a perfect card. I think the trigger is really cool too. You can manage the top 5 of your deck.
It's like a super powered Spada. Yeah,
exact. Yeah, I already know that I will cut 2 Buggy to play 2. And I
know. I'm so mad. I have these Buggy alt arts, and now I have to cut Buggy. I have to cut these Buggies, but you're right. Yeah. There's no real other slot. You have to cut the Buggy because Mr. One is so powerful. Like getting back Gavel is so good. And there's nothing. There's like nothing else. Like I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm going to try is I think cut 2 Buggy, 1 Arabesque, 1 Zeph maybe, and try with 4. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, there's going to be once the Western meta gets a hold of OP06, I think there'll be a lot more innovation. Just the Eastern meta having it right now, I think Western meta is a lot bigger. The amount of locations in Western meta, I think there'll be a lot more innovation. So we'll see where White Snake takes us in terms of that. Before I let you go, the last card, Nojiko.
Oh.
Nojiko.
I've seen on the video that you like Nojiko.
I really like Nojiko. I really like. If you don't like Nojiko, I won't be offended. I really like Nojiko.
Yeah, I think Nojiko is a bad card.
Fair enough. Do you think that?
I think it's a bad card.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like it's so you're saying so I will play Nojiko over Brickfist, or I'll play with Brickfist, but I'll play like less Brickfist. I'll play less Brickfist.
You play less Brickfist?
So I'll play like 4 Nojiko, 1 Brickfist, or like 3 Nojiko, 2 Brickfist. That's usually my spread.
But you still play Buggy?
Still play Buggy.
But you have like 13 card Impel Down or less?
So what do I shave? Oh, So you go. What's my spread? It's okay. The card that I shaved down a copy of is Love. I have 3 Loves, 2 Brickfists. No, okay, yeah, 3 Loves, 1 Brickfist, 4 Nojiko, and my flex slot will bounce between. So my 2-card flex slot will bounce between Overheats as an extra way to bounce, or Overheats. Right now, I'm actually trying 8's. Funny enough, before this conversation. Yeah. So 8's or Overheats. They used to be like Soga King and like something else, but that's my like
what
spread.
I mean, it's if you remove 3 Brickfist, but you still play Buggy, I think you don't have enough targets when you play Buggy. Enough impel down targets.
Yeah, so you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is a scenario that does come up. And I'm probably leading to the whole conversation of bricking with Buggy. I'm probably like proliferating it now. Because yes, your only target at that point. Because even, Overheat isn't an impel down target. You have to play Gum Rain if you wanted to make up for that. But yeah, you're right. You don't, there's a lot of times where you do whiff. It's just, you just find impel downs and Deathwinks.
I think if you remove the arabesque face, you have to just remove the Buggy too, because there is no point anymore to play Buggy. But it's interesting why you prefer Nojiko than arabesque.
So I wanted to know. So again, just being the greedy player that I am, I find a lot of times that I don't. So unless I'm in the late game, I don't use. Unless I'm in the late game, I don't use Brickfist. A lot of times I will discard it. I'll either play Kaya early to filter. Like there's some bad cards in my hand. I need a dig for something else. And then I'm like, okay, I have enough Dawn to counter out. I can't use Brickfist to bounce the Kaya. Kaya's purpose is done. And then in the late game, I have definitely won. I have 100% won with Brickfist, Kaya, Brickfist, whatever, just recurring them that way. Yeah. A lot of times for me, Nojiko is a way to stall out the board by time against the, I guess maybe it's a response to more yellow and purple Luffy, because the 5 costs in that deck are more, and there's more things to remove. I find against Sakazuki, I'm fine with playing Brickfist. The 4 costs are what I'm really concerned with. If I had to field a majority of Sakazuki, I would just play Brickfist. But against a wider meta where it's more varied, I like Nojiko more.
Okay.
I think there's more I think there's a lot of valuable targets at 5.
Okay.
And then also Nojiko can be bounced as well. I've gone Nojiko. There have been desperate times where I've gone Nojiko, Zeph, bounce Nojiko, play Nojiko again. And then hold up 1 Dawn.
Yeah, that's true.
I've done that before. True. I've done that before.
Okay. Yeah.
But I can't I can't wholeheartedly argue against Brickfist because I understand. That's why I will push Nojiko. So here's the language I try and use. I will say that I really like Nojiko, and I will always play Nojiko. But it's very hard for me to argue against Brickfist. So that's why I'm being kind of tricky and cop-outy with my wording. I won't tell people to not play Brickfist, but I will tell people to play Nojiko. It's like, I get it. I understand Brickfist. I get it. It's kind of like 8's.
Yeah.
I understand. I can't hate the card.
But I think if it's a good card in my opinion, Purple Luffy is hard to win. But even if you play Nojiko, but if you tell me that it's a good card against Purple Luffy and it make you win some games, so maybe it's a good card. So
I don't think the card itself will make it a positive matchup, but I think it'll help.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it'll help. That's my take. But I understand. Playing Brickfist, I understand. I just wish Brickfist hit 5 costs, but the card might be too good at that point. Yeah. The card might be a little too good at that point. Anyway, so before we go too much farther, again, I think we're over time at this point. Let's wrap up the conversation here. Is there, I know you do have socials, but I don't want to push the socials if like your Twitter and everything, if you don't want people to follow you, if you don't want to be an internet celebrity, that's fine. Is there is there anything that folks can look out for from you in the future? Are you looking out for any big tournaments? Are you going to be grinding out more Nami? What can people look forward to?
I will do big tournaments. But I think I will play Nami only for the big tournaments because I want to keep my friend. So.
What are you playing in that case? What are you playing at locals? Do you just borrow decks and they're like, oh, I have Sakazuki today. You want to play?
No. Today I had a local and I played the Blue Dofi.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And
I was like, I personally really love Ivankov, the Ivankov leader, because like you play a lot of the Nami cards. Like you're trying to discard down to like 0 and like Crocodile because it has built-in like removal. I like the fun like off meta decks like that.
Yeah. So I played the Blue Duffy. That I did a super good result. I did one victory to
nice.
Lose. So nice.
Yeah. No, that deck is like I think it's where is it? Blue Dofi is like the blue green Dofi.
No, the only just blue Dofi.
What am I? I'm thinking of the wrong leader. Hold on.
Yeah, it's the one that make you play the top of your card.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I'm thinking of Doflamingo. Yeah. I'm thinking of the other. I'm thinking of the other one. Yeah. Sorry. I'm thinking of like the actual the card. I'm thinking of green purple. I think it's green purple. Yeah. Sorry.
Green purple. And that's a good deck.
Yeah, because I was thinking, green purple has like 10 cost Flamingo and like that. That's a good card in itself. But yeah, blue Flamingo is really good too. Honestly, 3 cost Flamingo is like a really good blocker too.
That's true.
3 cost Flamingo is a really good blocker. It's a searcher on play. There's some good cards in that deck. There's some good cards in blue Flamingo.
But when I will want to try hard, I will play Nami, and when I will have fun, I will play other deck.
Okay, last tip that you have for the Nami players. What would you say to any new Nami player trying out the deck, or any Nami player that says, oh my god, all 5, as I said in the beginning, all 5 of my triggers are Zephs. What do I do? This deck sucks. What do I do?
Oh, learn your matchup, play a lot of game. You have to play the game to be good, and you will progress, and when you will progress, you will love the deck. So try hard, and it will be super nice.
Perfect. Okay, we'll end off the discussion there. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want to see more stuff like this, then you gotta join the channel, subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you want to see moving forward. And excuse me, sorry, Ramtin, I hope to see more of you on the channel and more Nami players like this. Definitely want to provide a platform for all of you to, I guess, advance this archetype that we all hate and love to hate. I guess. Love to hate. All right, thanks everyone for joining. We'll end off there.